Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and arrive at episode number 293. I'm Keith, and do you guys hear that bell? Anybody?
I'm Sean, and I might hear a bell.
I'm Glenn. I don't hear a bell at all.
Oh, I have a compulsion to go towards the door. Is that...
I don't hear it.
Oh. Sounds like an old train bell.
I don't hear it.
Yeah.
I must just be hearing things.
Must just be you.
Huh.
Oh, wait, I left the TV on in the other room. Maybe that's it.
We'll have to keep an eye on that, just in case.
Did you guys have a good week?
Yeah.
Is your compulsion to go through the door to get away from it?
Grab a strap.
Maybe.
Strap him to the chair.
Get some bungee cords.
You're not going anywhere.
I've welded the door shut. You're
A
going
lot of good
nowhere.
that did.
I got you in the ring for 3 minutes.
I think you got to put a TARDIS in front of it.
I don't have one of those.
You got several of them. Doesn't say it has to
I
fill the
don't
door.
think that little plastic TARDIS back there is going to help.
I don't know.
It's a mental thing.
We
It's just mental.
take his shoes off and he steps on it. He might not go through the door.
If it's a Lego TARDIS, it'll probably stop him.
Or one of the ones that have wheels and I slide and woo. Like a cartoon character. Yeah.
As long as it's the one that's got the little disc in the bottom that changes direction, so you don't slide in a straight line, but you gotta spin as you go.
And then before you fall, your feet have to go. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all exactly how it would go, too.
All right, set that up. I want to see it happen now.
I'm not taking my shoes off. Now I know the plan.
You're not going to have any options once I tie you to the chair. The problem is we'll get him tied to the chair, we'll get everything set up, then we'll get his shoes off and then sit there and wait. And he won't struggle. He'll just stay strapped to the chair and we'll be like, well, this was not well thought out.
I don't hear the bell now.
When have we ever thought anything out well?
Kind of our MO. We get to the end of the show and go, well, that didn't go according to plan. Every week.
Every week.
You never know what's going to happen.
What'd you guys do this week? I saw a couple films.
What'd you see?
What'd you watch?
I went to Star Trek Beyond. It was good.
Well, I'll wait until you tell me what you thought.
It was good. It was enjoyable.
Yay!
I had nothing to write home about, but it was good. It was lots of action, lots of thrills. I kind of see what you guys mean about it feels like an extended episode without feeling like an extended episode. And the villain's motivations I don't think is fleshed out well enough, but that's its only weakness for me. So. And then I subjected myself to Batman vs. Superman extended cut.
Oh!
And?
The only thing it does is lays out Lex's plan better.
Here's
the thing is, I felt that the cut version sufficiently laid out his motivations. This one just connects the pieces a little more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
exactly
improve anything.
No, it's the same issues are still there. It just allows you to see how he reached each
it's not an improvement.
spot.
And I prefer the cut version. I think the extended version is far too long. So then, on Thursday, I went and saw Suicide Squad.
How was that?
Slightly better than Bat Soup.
Which is funny because that's not according to the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a lower rating than Bat Soup.
It's funny that everybody's saying the same thing about Suicide Squad, that it's 3 different films mushed together. And I don't think it's 3 films mushed together. Somebody took 3 acts of a film, put them on a cutting board, chopped them up into tiny pieces, flipped the cutting board up in the air, and then just let the pieces land where they land. And it's a mess. It's a real mess. I guess I went in with my expectations too high again. Thank you, trailers. You sold me on a film that wasn't. That was that. That was pretty much my week.
Well, we watched the extended cut of The Martian.
Ooh, how's that?
It was good.
Did you buy the extended cut?
No, I just borrowed it. It was good. The 10 minutes of extra stuff is not needed. And then we watched Hardcore Henry.
Oh, the first-person
shooter
movie.
shooter thing. It's good.
Is it as nauseating as it looks?
Honestly, it's not bad. I was kind of worried about that when it started, but you acclimate pretty quickly. It's like watching somebody else play a video game. So then once you get to that mode, you're kind of okay with it. But it's in the level of Crank ridiculous. And then I watched some Clone Wars. I just finished the droids going and getting the Doodad story arc, which was cool, but about one episode too long for that arc. And now I just started the Darth Maul end Gambit. That's about it. Oh, and we went and saw Beyond again today. We went and saw it in IMAX. And then we went and saw Weird Al again.
As great as the last one.
As great as the last. I honestly, I've lost track. This is either the 4th or maybe 5th time that I've seen him. And he is in my top 5 concerts of all time. It's pretty much Al and Ben Folds. I will go see either one of them every time they come through. Fun day in Kansas City. What did you do this week, Keith?
Not much. I finished Preacher Season 1. It ended kind of weird.
That's what I've heard.
And then we watched Brooklyn, the Saoirse Ronan Oscar-nominated film. It was okay. It was interesting. Sarah liked it. Not one that she'd want to rewatch a lot, but it's interesting. And then I also introduced Sarah to Fanboys because she'd never seen that.
How did she take that one?
She thought it was pretty cute. That was about it.
All right, well, let's move on to feedback.
How about some news first?
Man, every time.
We can reverse order. I don't think so.
Let's do it in reverse order.
Let's do feedback first.
For once, let's do feedback and then news.
Look at us changing it up.
We don't have feedback.
All right, let's move on to news then.
But if you want to send us feedback, you can send it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com. We got the tab on our website, travelingthevortex.com. Send us feedback, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Traveling the Vortex, or Twitter @TravelVortex.
And you better do it soon, because otherwise I'm going to start singing the Team America song, I'm Sharonry, oh Sharonry, Sharonry and totally a roan. And nobody wants that.
Enough. All right. How about news now?
News! So the TV movie is going to be released on Blu-ray in September. So far it's UK only.
Aww.
No word on if it's going to come across the pond, but good chance on it, you know. Keep an eye out for that. No price, but I guess it's probably part of the 20th anniversary aspect of it. Why they didn't think of that for May, I don't know.
Yeah. They probably thought of it in May. Wait a minute, can't we do that in a...
Hey, we should do a Blu-ray.
It's still going to be 4:3 though, right? They didn't shoot it in 16:9, right? Aspect ratio.
I would assume so.
It's going to be 4:3.
There's not a lot of details. There's a Amazon UK pre-order, and that's kind of all you get.
I don't know how they shot it.
They did shoot it. It's shot in 4:3 because it was shot for television, and back then everything was shot 4:3. They weren't letterboxing anything. I mean, they sparingly letterbox was coming around, but they weren't doing that for television movies.
Yeah, not 96.
I'm assuming it's pretty much going to be a transfer of the
but
DVD copy.
It is on film.
So they could upconvert it to.
It was all shot on film, so it'll look nice. It'll just still be 4:3,
which is okay. I mean, there's a lot of those Universals that they put on Blu-ray that are still 4:3.
Technical aspects aside, who here's buying it when it comes out on Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Okay, so
well, if we get an American version, I'm not gonna buy it until I have a region-free disc player.
That's right.
But yet another Doctor Who I own on Blu-ray that I can't watch. Shut up, Keith.
I didn't say anything.
I've got a copy of Song of the South on PAL video cassette that I've never been able to watch.
I know what you're getting for Christmas now. I want to go dig one of these up.
A PAL. Yeah, you bet. I'd take it. Then I'd go on the internet and buy up all these PAL VHSs that I can only get shows in the UK that aren't here yet.
Our other bit of news is con-related. If you have not got your tickets to Time Eddy, you can by entering a Vortex The word vortex and the code.
You want to try that again?
Yeah. If you haven't got your tickets to Time Eddie, you can now with a discount, thanks to us and the guys at Time Eddie.
So do we know how much Time Eddie tickets are currently?
Currently, it is $69 or $49.
That's for the whole weekend.
That's for the 3-day weekend. They're knocking it down for our listeners and our friends and families to $50 and $30.
So
all you have to do is enter the code Vortex
That's
to
right.
get that discount.
that's a $20 savings per ticket, right?
Yeah.
My math's right there.
Yeah.
So we expect that you guys have no excuse
And
now.
you have until September. It's good till September 1st.
First, yeah.
So all of our listeners who live
So go to the
remotely
website,
close.
go through, pick your 3-day tickets for the weekend for junior or for adult. Enter the code Vortex in the box when the promotion code section comes up, and you will get the $20 off tickets.
That's right.
Because we're people who know people.
People know people.
And now,
Special Traveling the Vortex discount.
That's right.
that means your people who know people who know people. It's kind of a lame claim to fame, actually. But,
It's for friends, family, listeners, family of listeners, friends of listeners. So anybody can use the Vortex
Yeah,
code.
really.
And for every one of you that uses the Vortex code, I'm sure they're ticking a little bar off, and they go, oh, look at the Vortex boys. They brought in a whole bunch of people. We want to be those guys.
and bring a costume so that we can win that.
That's right.
That's right. Guinness record.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
That thing.
I knew it was Guinness, but my brain latched onto beer and went, no. I tried to talk myself out of it.
Beer? Who's got beer?
No.
Beer?
No.
I thought about getting some more Trek ale that I could share on the podcast since you chastised me so publicly
For buying one.
the one that I
bottle.
purchased, which is still downstairs, but I hadn't made it to the liquor store because of my busy week. So,
Would have
no.
been fitting that since he saw.
I know. If I'd have known that you were going to see Beyond, I
In
would have.
celebration of
I would have made a
all
more
three of us have now
concentrated
seen it.
effort to go see it or to go buy beer.
All right, well, let's move on to our review.
And thanks to Kieran and the guys over at Time Eddie for allowing us to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can move on to reviews, Glenn.
Shall we start with The Nowhere Place?
Sure.
A mysterious door and the sound of a bell ringing leads the Doctor and Evelyn to a spaceship in the year 2197 to a train in 1952. Why does Evelyn keep hearing the words, "Time's End"?
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, that's all right. I liked it.
Well, that's our show.
It's enjoyable. It's atmospheric. It's tense. It's rather dramatic. I thought Colin Baker, when they get to the bit with the train and he starts changing his voice, I was really impressed by that. I don't know about you guys.
That's funny.
It took me a second to be like, oh, wait, hey, that's actually
I
Colin.
did not recognize him the first line out.
I was impressed.
I like that it loops back to the fact that it was his voice he was hearing when he was hearing the train on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
He was hearing him asking for tickets.
It's yeah, atmospheric's a good word, because it's very, I don't know, this malevolent force with the doorway, and it's appropriately creepy. It's really a powerful imagery, and I don't think this is one of those that you could ever consider doing live. As for
You definitely couldn't do it live.
On
filmed,
screen.
on screen. Thank you, with people, not
did it with
animated,
people.
with cardboard stand-ups and audio.
I know what you're trying to do. Live action.
Live
That's what
action.
you-
That was the
I
word.
get
Yeah.
you.
With people. I'm having a tough night tonight, so you guys are just going to have to bear with me. But just the imagery was so good. I think the ending, I'm going to skip to the end. I think the ending was maybe a little muddled. I feel like the malevolent force, when we get the explanation of what it is, I was kind of like, what, that's it? Really? I mean, I don't get me wrong. It was horrifying, and the concept was scary. But then I went back and listened to the last, 15 minutes of this thing probably 4 times to make sure that I was really gleaning everything out of it that I was supposed to. And I'm still not sure that I really...
Well, I think
maybe there's just not as much there to get out of it that I thought.
They leave things kind of murky on purpose, I think.
Yeah.
To give you kind of connect your own dots.
That's why I had to come down on it. Did you pull something else out of it?
I disagree, because I like how I had this fear of this omnipotent seeming malicious force, and it simply comes down to
jealousy.
To jealousy. It comes down to a real simple reason, and I kind of liked that they kind of I mean, anything that makes the Doctor afraid, and as afraid as he is in this, you're thinking, wow, okay, this is something big. And so to have the turnaround and realize what it really was, it was this species that had basically ran up into the end of time because of their malfunction on their ship, and they felt like, since they didn't get to advance at their time when they were part of Earth, that no other society or anything that was coming from Earth was going to get to either. And it really came down to, they made a mistake and ran up against a wall. And I thought that was cool, because it was a simple fix, or a simple reason for something that had grown into, I mean, it was still, it didn't lessen the impending impact of the malicious act of it all, but it wasn't some omniscient being. It ended up being something that was manageable or controllable, and so I kind of liked that they kind of funneled it down to that version. So I actually enjoyed that. It was more of a all of that for this kind of thing, and I thought that's neat.
Yeah, no, that part I liked, but then
what I had trouble wrapping my brain around was how they got to that point, and they did this way on purpose to make it tough for you to kind of figure it out.
Right.
The fact that the explosion is what causes them to go to that time initially, anyways.
Right.
That whole kind of time loop type.
It's the
thing.
Nuclear weapon.
Yeah,
it was going to happen anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and that part kind of just made me kind of. I racked my brain with that, and then kind of had to, okay, I just got to move on, and just, okay, that's what it was.
I thought that was cool, because
it was clever, but I struggled processing it.
It was more of the cause and effect thing that was always... We always talk about...
cause.
Yeah, well, we always talk about... I guess it is. It's both cause and effect and cause, because one was causing the other, and then backwards the other way as well. So they're both interconnected from both sides. But I think what it also did was it bolsters the Doctor, in the sense that I always liked when the Doctor goes into a mystery, and especially a complicated mystery like this. And I like when the story is always told from the perspective of, wow, this even has the Doctor baffled. But then when the Doctor then gets back into that one step ahead of you mode, and it really does it really well here at this point, I kind of like that, because to me that's the heroism of the Doctor, is that he's smart enough usually to figure something out, and so it hit all of the right beats for me, and I think maybe that's why I liked the end of it so much, and even the time loop, cause and effect, effect and cause before cause.
I really like the actual train aspect of it too. The whole idea that they plant this idea for the Doctor to trick him, to try to keep humans from expanding outward into space by destroying this guy's art. And I really like where they placed it, because it reaches a point in the spaceship story where it almost feels like there's nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. And so we get this nice little detour for an episode to kind of explore that idea, and then we come back.
Yeah.
I really like that. It was a nice kind of change of pace.
I was a little worried at first, because like, okay, where are we going with the train thing? I was like, just seems like there's bigger fish to fry in a way.
They plant the seeds early on, too,
right,
which help. That you're going to get there eventually.
Exactly, and they set it up in such a way that the Doctor's convinced that the only way to solve the problem on the spaceship is to go back in time to this train. So you go along with it, and then the train thing unfolds, and you're kind of like, where are you going with this? What's the deal? And then they kind of get there, and it's like, oh, okay, I think I get it. And then you come back to the spaceship, and that's where they kind of reveal that this is the reasoning for that. And you go, oh, okay, cool. That was,
right,
I like the way that fit together.
And then the fact that they were gone for as long as they were.
Yeah.
It was a month, wasn't it?
Two and a half.
2 months.
Yeah.
But I still have this is one of those things that, for as great as the concept is, and I like everything you said, Glenn, that I agree that it's a simple problem. I like that this seemingly bizarre impossibility. We have a 5 billion-year-old door just hanging out in space, sucking people through it. Okay, and so you and this force and this craziness and a mouth with stuff in it, and you really are keyed up on the what is this thing, and the fact that it is something simple. The problem that I have is that last 15 minutes, because it's one of those that suddenly, in the Doctor's carte blanche, I'm not going to clean anything up. We've just fixed the problem, and it's like, no, you didn't fix anything, because what we've done is we've now established that these people who we thought were the bad guys aren't really bad guys, despite all of their jealousy and their rage and their impotence, that they're shaking their fists at the unjustness of the universe. They're really not to blame for anything. It's all the military commander who launched the nuke. It's all her fault, because she's the one that set it off and trapped them in this Mobius strip. Now, they had their coordinates wrong, but it was the explosion that did it. So now,
they trapped themselves in the Mobius
That's
strip.
what the Doctor thought, but then later he says it's always her plan. It's always been what's going to do. He says, I've changed the settings now, but that nuke is still coming.
Right, but the nuke is what sent them to the end of time.
They
wouldn't have been... Had they not made the mistake, there wouldn't have been a necessity for the nuke. Now, while the nuke sent them to the end of time, they set the chain of events in place first. They made the mistake, set themselves in a loop. That caused that caused the starting of the events, because if they had never got caught in a loop and they had advanced and gone off into space, you never would have had the society to have to be affected by what happens to them later. So that's the cause and effect and cause, because they start the chain of events. She's the one that they're just as, I guess what I'm saying is they're as equally involved in this as the military is using the explosive to propel them to the end of the time, which is where at that point where they're trying to get, they're being vindictive against anybody else that tries to succeed. So you couldn't have one without the other. You see what I'm saying? So
okay,
they've sort of started it
just as much at fault.
Yeah.
So all of these other races that get sucked through the door throughout history
are both of their fault
too.
Yeah. But also the first beings fault as well. So I think that's why I was kind of okay with that, because the Doctor realized it was an impassable thing. Yes, he fixed the settings, but he's sort of at fault too, because then he's the one that propels them into. So all the parties are in
because of the causal loop nature of, or not even causal loop, but just the nature of the loop, and that this is an ongoing thing, and it's going to apparently be an ongoing thing, that we've fixed. I don't know. It's kind of like Office Space. We fixed the glitch, but what about this? No. We just fixed it. And you kind of hand wave it away, and it's like, but they're still here. They're still theoretically trapped somewhere.
Right.
The nuke still goes off. So what did we resolve? I mean, is the door still there? How did they build the door?
No, the door is gone, because
the door is gone.
They commented
the door's gone.
At least it's not present in this current time period in this space.
Right.
But maybe it's still out there somewhere. I don't know. It's just one of those that...
Ultimately, though, the Doctor is what sets the... He does make a choice. He's the one, even though she was always going to fire the nuke, he does make a choice between who succeeds.
Yeah.
And it is the humans that exceed. So succeed. Sorry.
Succeed.
They exceed too.
First they succeed, then they exceed. I feel like it would have gotten much stronger, done enough for me, if the resolution had been a little more satisfactory. Because I really, 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 really like the concept. But I feel like I got to the end, and it almost felt, I don't know, in a way kind of a cheat, like the writer was being super clever or something, and it was like, yeah, but what about this? And I had all these other questions now that have been brought up that, it's Doctor Who. I shouldn't ask these questions. I know better than to ask these questions, but now I really want to know.
I think as a whole, though, I think that Evelyn has been a study in the character of the Doctor. Her entire time with the Doctor has been Big Finish exploring the character, the nature of the Sixth Doctor. Because we don't get those kind of stories with Six and Perry, and we don't get those kind of stories with Six and Mel. And I don't know about Charlie yet, but at the same way that I think Charlie's character challenged the character of the Eighth Doctor, I think that's what they did with Evelyn here, because it's always an exploration of more than we saw on the surface of Six. And I wonder if that is a calculated plan. Because by giving him an older companion, somebody that he doesn't have to necessarily weed along, and you know, I think it gives us a better character exploration that we didn't get with the Sixth Doctor, and I think that's why I like about it, and why telling me a high-minded story in such a simple way works for me. Had it been any other companion, I might have thought I needed more for the end there, but that's been kind of the MO for most of these stories. Is we still have Doctor and the Pirates, even as funny and fun as that, it has that think about it
true.
later
A lot
on.
of the Evelyn ones have been very ambiguous.
Even
toward the
Marian
end.
Conspiracy was that way at the end. You know, they and the one with the warring governments and factions, that was just like that. The one it's all. It's not just a character study for him, but his relationship with Evelyn, and this is just another one in the set. So maybe that's why I was better with it. I see your point. Don't get me wrong, because you're absolutely right. It does do that, but maybe I'm more forgiving because it's Evelyn.
Yeah, could be. And like I said, Evelyn's great. Evelyn is great as always. And as you pointed out, I don't know that you could do this story with Perry or Mel or
no. I don't know. I don't think it would work with any other companion but Evelyn.
Yeah. Because Evelyn has something tapped in with, in her relationship with the Doctor, which is kind of strange, whereas one of the other companions would just go, "Are you okay? You're acting weird," you know, and then they'd move on. Evelyn really has it tapped into his psyche that she knows, you're afraid of something. She's really got his number.
Yeah.
Her age,
which I think is one of the reasons I like her so much.
I think her age helps because she's more of a matriarch character rather than a student.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're almost more equal.
Yeah.
Which is an odd thing to say about the Doctor and anybody, but
well, yeah.
Especially anybody human.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, other than that, I liked the setting. I like getting out into space, but yet still being around Pluto. That was cool.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause anytime you do something in the solar system, I'm for it.
The idea of this war force at the edge of the solar system protecting the border from these alien marauders that are coming across, really cool. Bit Star Trek, but really cool.
Yeah.
I liked it.
All right, should we move on to the comics?
Yeah,
sure.
Move on.
I don't have synopses for the comics.
That's all right.
Picking up where we left off in the 11th Doctor's...
Breaking river at a storm cage.
Yeah. So this is issue... Well, I guess we start with issue 6.
I think you kind of have to do them as a whole. And the reason I say that is because of the nature of the story arc that they're telling here. We're really kind of right smack dab in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And this one has moments that squee moments for me, especially when they show up with Shada. I was excited for River to show up. I think early on in the first story, she's quite enjoyable because she hits every note as far as being River, as the character of River.
Mm-hmm.
I think then she starts to get redundant because while everything that I expect from River comes out in the first story, everything that I expect from River comes out in the second story as well. And then everything I expect from River comes out in the third story. So then suddenly I'm getting bored with the characterization, and you don't normally do that on TV because they've wisely separated River out throughout the series.
I think that's why they were so smart to give her that sickness and put her in that.
That's exactly right. The other thing that I had by the second story, I started getting crowded TARDIS syndrome because while I have been excited about Absalom Dack being in this, for the first 3 stories, he's worthless. He's sidelined. There's nothing that he gets relegated down to babbling. Oh, must kill Daleks, must kill Daleks, and that's all his character comes by the third story. And it's again
He's the comic relief.
But it's
Oh, yeah.
again taking hitting all the same beats with Dak over and over again without growing his character, giving me something new about him. All the meantime, Alice is taking too much crap from the Doctor, because we had Alice who was very much ready to stand up to the Doctor early on in the first year of this, and would speak her mind. And if the Doctor had any sort of gruff with her or anything, she would push right back at him. Suddenly we've got Alice who's just kind of wandering around, like, just being completely berated by the Doctor here and there and here and there. And ultimately I'm glad we got to a point where they showed us there's a reason for why he's doing it.
And I understood
She
the
took
reasoning,
it
I
too
just
much.
didn't like it. Yeah.
And she didn't know.
Yeah.
But so her character was altered in this story as well.
And it was almost to the point where his verbal rebuffs were so strong, and the way they were worded made me wonder if it wasn't 12's persona bleeding backwards. I kind of kept waiting to find out that
would have been a nice explanation.
Yeah.
that this is. I mean, he shushes her.
Because you still have the then and the now coming, and you still get those visualizations of all of his timeline. So it would make sense that they kind of do that, but they don't.
But they don't.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So then there's that. Then suddenly there's the Squire. I'm getting tired of the mystery of the Squire. I mean, they've exhausted that with me. You need to give me more. And then to have her disappear at the bar. And then
Well, it worked within Shada, the fact that she's the one that didn't get into the trap because she has no history.
that was a
that-
good use
was
of her.
suddenly
here's
a
what I
huge
should say.
aha.
The Shada story arc, the small story arc we get in there, was well played. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. And she does work for there, but she becomes a tool at that point.
Right.
Then disappearing at the bar, only to come back at the last minute and get that aha. And I did the little, oh yay, good, she's back and she's come to save the day, only to get struck down.
Immediately.
And we still don't know anything about her. And then now what they have suddenly done eventually is
They've been weeding down.
they've weeded everybody down, which I thought was good and bad, because for the good of it, it was we don't have crowded TARDIS anybody. For the bad of it, we are setting up pieces for something coming, and you can't see it until it gets there, which is probably a good thing. But it almost felt like we were just cutting. We realized we have too many people in the TARDIS, and we've started cutting companions.
It
out.
almost feels,
and that's
that
how
way.
it feels. And then so I was like, I don't know that I like that.
And especially going back to Dak, the fact that the one thing that he wants to do, the one thing that he would be very good at doing, killing Daleks, you can't possibly think that turning him loose within the Time War is a good idea. I mean,
Yeah. I get the idea of he wants somebody to be her protector, and he's the best candidate for it, but I think he would get distracted and go kill all Daleks and leave her undefended.
yeah, I don't know. That seemed like,
Part of me wonders,
even though the Doctor said that was the plan, you were supposed to go protect Alice when she went into the Time War, there was another part of me that went, but...
Part of me sort of wonders, though, if they thought that because early on they were developing that relationship between he and Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether it was a romantic relationship or just a really good friendship, I think they thought that they were taking them down that path so that they could, when he goes in there with her, you would think, okay, well, he cares enough for Alice that he wouldn't get so sidelined, although he would protect her. But it is not conveyed in this part of the story
No,
arc.
not at all.
So, and it's not until he goes to help her hijack the Master's TARDIS that you finally get that connect again between he and Alice, especially when they take the little bugs that have the whatever, the psychic energy or whatever they
Yeah,
did
that was a nice tie back.
to add to which another thing is I thought the tumor connected to the Master's TARDIS was a little too
Ronnie?
yeah maybe too not too deliberate. What am I looking for? Too obvious. It was overstated the way the visuals of it was. I thought that was kind of, at first I thought it was the TARDIS's brain because he talks about connecting it to the TARDIS brain. It's not till later that I kind of figured out that that's the tumor, but I thought that was still a little too
visually it looked too much like a brain for them to say he performed surgery on his brain to then give me a...
No, it was too much of a visualization of the tumor. It was too realized, I guess is what I'm saying. It I don't know, that was just weird. But anyway, I got past that. It's just, unfortunately, I think because we're in that middle ground where they're setting up the pieces for something to come, I really feel like this has been the weakest of season 2. The shot was awesome. And I kind of had a hint in the back of my head that's where they were going.
Really?
Especially when he said he was the most imprintable prison, and they were laying the seeds, and I thought it was one of those, he's not talking about Shada, is he? Surely they are going to. So it was one of those I was trucking myself out of it. So when they go there, I did do that little punch the air. Oh, Shada!
And then all the references to how it's been wiped and
that was another one too. Yeah.
So brilliantly done.
So,
and I really like the idea that he didn't go get River to break them into Shada, and that he doesn't really convey this, but it's
to break him out of Shada.
Yeah, that's what's great about that whole thing too.
Did anybody else think, as soon as when I'm reading this and they get to Shada and the security computer starts talking to them, it was in Alan Rickman's voice doing...
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah, it was totally Marvin.
Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't the only one.
Which I think was deliberate. I think it's a deliberate...
Absolutely.
Because that Shada is a Douglas Adams story, I think this was their nod to another Douglas Adams character. I don't think it was Marvin, but it was certainly a homage.
I've already retconned it in my head.
It was certainly
an
homage.
An homage.
It was an homage to Marvin because this was a Douglas Adams work. So, which makes you wonder if they had to get rights to use even the name Shada from the Adams estate. But
that's a good question.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was almost like
it was like a movie that wasn't filmed.
It was really it was really a nod to, I think, Adams in more ways than one. That was neat. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I just building where we left off. We were so excited over, the previous installments of this. So kind of picking up on that and dealing with River, and then getting into Shada, and then having Shada. It was like
those first 2 issues just continue that.
Yeah,
and then we get to the bar, and that's when it starts to kind of go down.
All of a sudden, there was this weird plateau where nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then it even backslid just a little bit. I was like, no, don't lose the momentum, don't lose the momentum. But I agree with you. It's like, well, I really hope that it's just we're in the middle of it. We can't necessarily go any further without some context of knowing where the story's all going to wind up. But just the reveals, one after another, have been so good, all the way up to and including their time in Shada.
Yes. Agreed.
And now what? We got 3 issues after that, kind of dealing with.
It sort of feels like they're padding it out to the end of the year.
It does a little bit.
I wonder.
The visualization of the Malignant was really, really well done. That was neat.
I really like the change of art style because 6. I wasn't as big fan of the 6, the issue from what previously in issue 6. And once we got to 7, I liked the change.
7 was good, and then 8 went back to bad.
See, I didn't think it changed back to the other style.
Yeah.
Maybe just not as detailed
River
as the
does
first.
not look right.
River doesn't
6,
look right.
And then she looks fine in 7, and then she doesn't look right again. Dak is still... This is a comic character. We haven't seen this guy in real life. Dak is fantastic. The artwork is so reminiscent of the classic stories with him. And then suddenly he looks less like Dak now. I really had a real... and I hate... I don't know why. I always hate to judge the artwork of a comic. I guess because I always look for story. And I always think it's unfair of me to judge the artwork. But I guess if I don't like the artwork, then I need to say it's just not my...
Well, in this case, it is a visual medium. I mean, we are talking...
We would talk about how, if we didn't like how the episode was shot.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, but I just there's some.
I hate to say that we're bagging on it, but in a way,
I think it gets good again in 10. I thought it looked pretty good, issue 10, but I just think 6, 8, 9.
I just thought it was an improvement after 6.
I felt they slipped back.
I felt like
back
a little bit, but I thought almost more.
It really, unfortunately, doesn't match up with last year's, which I'm very. And when Alice is even kind of going through her what do you fight yourself? And she mentions Into a World of Color,
Yeah.
and how well that was. Because I remember we commented on how kind of cartoony that the 11th Doctor adventures were, and it wasn't until she said that
Some of them were. Yeah.
I made the connection that everything that Alice was going through was very kind of cold and drab and gray, and because she had lost her mom, and then she goes into the TARDIS with the Doctor, and it becomes this
Very
almost
colorful
kaleidoscope of thing. And I thought, wow, I didn't pick up on that until
I
now.
hadn't thought of that either. So
What a great,
I didn't pick up on it,
what a
so.
great way of doing that. But I'm kind of with Keith. I think consistently, this run was kind of a little bit more all over the place than the last batch, which I still don't think was quite up to par with what we had previously. So
I think my favorite was 7. The art in that.
Yeah, the art definitely was the best in the 7th episode. I think that this is one of those ones that it's an unfortunate situation. I think if I were reading these from month to month, I would be enjoying it a little better. I think by taking it chunks at a time, which is the only way we can do it. By taking so it's not really the fault of the format, but it's by taking this chunks at a time, the blemishes and errors and the polish is not as good as if I were taking them 1 month at a time. I probably would be enjoying this a little better. So, and that's the comic medium. That's the format how it's meant to be taken. Even though we eventually publishers shove all these together in a trade paperback later down the line to make some more money. I think taking this one a month at a time would be like some we've said about some of the Doctor Who television stories that had we watched them, a week at a time, we might have enjoyed them better. But when you push them all into one set down viewing, sometimes they don't work. I think the majority of Doctor Who does work sitting down and watching an entire story. But there are those few stories that you could tell if I had paced this out over a few weeks, it'd have been a much better story for me. I think the issues of the comic are the same way with me.
In this particular run, I definitely agree.
And I could probably do them month to month, but the problem is by the time we got here, I'd have to go reread them anyway because I'd have forgotten what had happened.
Any speaking of issue 7, any bets on who the Squire may be? I have a theory. I'm not sure that
I'm glad you have
share
a theory. I am lost with her. I have no idea who she is. No idea.
Specifically, this splash page of transitions, which I think having a digital copy maybe makes a difference because I'm not sure where the fold in the actual paper copy
this clearly would have been on a different page, but
right.
You don't
but
know if
were they together
or
were they flipped? I'm beginning to wonder. I don't know how yet.
You think it's Romana?
I think it might be Romana. I think it might be an older Romana too, because she would. We don't know what happened to her, and the way they've been pulling fast and loose from previous adventures and things, it's like stuff that we never thought we'd see again. Well, they're bringing up, so it's like, okay, well, what are you planning to do with Romana? If, for sake of comic continuity, Big Finish is not part of it, it would work in a way that, because she obviously knows the Doctor, she may or may not have been involved in the Time War, depending upon what the events of her timeline were leading up to the sealing of Gallifrey. And if anybody could get out of it, I would put Romana. Now, why she has the weird memory, or she doesn't even have a memory block, but why the Doctor doesn't have a memory block of who the Squire is and why she has no history, those are things that I can't necessarily answer yet. So it may not work at all. But
I don't think there's enough connecting factors.
Yeah,
I just feel like this panel was not put here accidentally. That we get the flashback scene of the Doctor, and they kind of even share similar features, but that might just be the back to the kind of simplistic nature of the artist.
I think this scene simply is to make us recall that Shada was an element of the Fourth Doctor's series, and Romana happened to be the one that visited him with. I think it's funny, as you talked about the wiping as like wiping videotapes. I think it was kind of funny, which would work better with classic, like older classic Doctor Who than Shada, because that gives the impression they think that Shada is a wiped tape, and it's not. It's just unfinished.
Yeah, I don't think I quite phrased it how they phrased it either.
It's still a bit meta. It's calling back to what has happened in the history of Doctor Who. I just think that that's more of a recall for the readers, so that they go, "Oh yeah, that was that's a unfinished episode, and it would have had Romana 2 and the Fourth Doctor." But you might be onto something, but I just don't think there's enough factors connecting. It's if it is Romana, they have hidden her well, because the Squire has absolutely no personality the same as, especially Romana 2, using that particular. Well, even
Romana
Romana
3,
1, there's no. Neither of those personalities gel with the personality we have in Romana or in the Squire at this point, especially being so subservient and so.
Maybe she took a regenerative potion as well to become a warrior with them. I don't know. I honestly, I don't even. It's not even a theory at this point. It's just a feeling I can't seem to shake. Ever since I saw those two panels together, where they showed Romana and then they showed the Squire in the next panel, I went, huh. And following through it, I don't know why, but I just have this vibe. So
I speaking of the
I
Squire,
hope I'm wrong, actually. I really kind of hope that I'm wrong, because that way it preserves the Big Finish history.
Yeah.
But
speaking of the Squire, I guess they've whet my appetite enough to. I think I'm getting tired of not knowing who she is and them not connecting any sort of dots. But they have whet my appetite in the sense that, he doesn't remember her. There's no record of her. She's not,
Even River doesn't know who.
Yeah, she has no timeline, so she doesn't register on Shada's, scanners and things like that. So they just keep dropping all this stuff, and I think there better be a really big bombshell later. And I think revealing that it's Romana would not be enough of a bombshell for me. It would be more of a that doesn't quite work for me. But I don't know. Maybe they will. I didn't see Shauna coming until right as they were going there, so maybe I'm not seeing the Romana connection yet.
maybe they figure by that point, because Shada comes up in the end of issue 6, so maybe by the time you've done 6 issues full of, holy crap, I can't believe they went there. Now the trick is not to give you any more surprises, because everybody's looking for them.
Right, which is possible. So, yeah, because I didn't go looking for Shada, but I sure had it in the back of my mind. Surely they're not talking about Shada. Oh, they are talking about Shada.
I did not see it coming.
That's why 7. I think that's why 7 is probably the best, because we've got Shada, we've got the Master's TARDIS. It's the Pillar, nonetheless.
Did you notice the one panel where Alice is flying the Doctor's the Master, and it was they had the police box instead of the Pillar?
Yeah,
that was
running
really
up
weird.
against the wall.
Yeah. Another reference to the wall and visualization of a wall of a time lock.
Yeah. I'm just going with it, guys. I just I can't dispute it, but it's still somebody else's idea. So
overall, I think we're still enjoying it.
Yeah, it's
we're kind of stuck in that limbo place of not knowing what's up next. So.
And I do want to go on now and read 11, because I feel like this ends at where the first break of 5 worked really well with the whole ending with River Song and finding out that they're breaking out. So there was a nice cutoff point of, ooh, exciting. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah.
This one was we've crashed through the Time War, but the way it drops off is almost too cliffhangery. It's not that tune in next week. It's more of you feel like you just stopped the story here.
Yeah.
It needs to really kind of have done something more, maybe more of a dun dun, what comes next week moment, type thing. It could really
I
kind of feels
expected
like it just falls off.
The panel where the War Doctor's there with his gun to be the final panel,
which I think would have worked better for me.
Yeah, it would have been a more of, oh look, it's that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's see what's going to happen.
But instead of the Doctor sitting there dejected, thinking it's all for naught, it just is like,
well, because the Squire has died.
Yeah, and she's died there as well.
And then the photo is of Alice in the Time War with the kid from her vision.
Yeah.
So, okay, way to leave me a seed.
Oh, excuse me.
I hope it grows into something, because I don't know where you're going with it.
Well, I sure hope they're going somewhere with that.
That
was a little obvious.
This is going to be tough. I feel bad saying this, because coming off of the emotional high of reading volumes 1 through 5 into the middling part of 6 through 10, but only
issues 1 through 5, yeah.
Only middling, because we don't know where. I mean, we didn't know where 1 through 6 or 1 through 5 was going, but at least, I mean, that was the beginning.
Yeah.
Now we're
Excuse me.
stuck in the middle. And
Well, I think the adventures were paced out really well.
Yeah.
In the first 5. The adventures don't feel like... I mean, Shada is an event, which works, and I think it's why we like it. But beyond that,
The
it
rest
feels
is
like...
just, you get the one in the bar, and then you're just kind of hanging
and
out.
that's
the rest
not really
of the
an
time.
adventure, because we're just... I thought it was kind of funny, the whole... Everybody, he walks in, the doctor thinks everybody's talking about him. He's talking about Dak. I did like the collector. I like the idea of the collector realizing that, I'm pretty much sunk. Nobody wants anything anymore because the Daleks are gone, that kind of thing. But then having a piece of information that Dak actually gets, but it didn't feel like they went far enough with that. And it just, I don't know. It was,
the setup for getting into Shada was good.
for making it interesting, I guess. Not
Shada
going far
was
enough,
good. And I even liked the kind of retro, wait, how did we get out of that? Well, isn't it obvious? And they give us some...
What's he call it? Techno junk?
Techno
Yeah.
Techno babble, but it's
I liked. I almost kind of like the way that's the way Absalom Dak would say it. Yeah, techno junk.
And I liked him ranting in the background during the explanation, where he's almost being distracting. Junk,
Techno
junk. So the whole hinge point around Shada was still great, but then we need a break. Let's go to a bar. Okay. Momentum lost.
Yeah.
I almost felt like they were baiting Absalom Dak there too, because he was talking. You're not even the same guy you were once before, and I thought, which kind of worked because I thought that guy was baiting him, and then I thought that he had baited Dak, and then suddenly we realized Dak was just getting some information out of the guy.
Yeah.
So
I really liked his in the final in what is this 10? It's not called the final, but when Dak finally kind of loses it and goes up against the Doctor, and he's just giving him what for in regards to you change your face, who does that, criminals, and just all those fun little nods that we kind of get with an episode that I think is particularly well written, and you're like, ooh, yeah, that's an aspect of the Doctor's personality. You turn your companions into weapons. Oh, yeah, they're right. And, just those little insights that maybe may not true.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this was a whole new way to flip that.
Right.
And really enjoyed that. And then, of course, the Doctor has to go and suck all the fun out of that conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're an idiot. You were supposed to go save her.
Well, and I understand why they were doing what they were doing with the Doctor and Alice to try to spur her on, but it just
Forced.
feels so.
Oh, yeah,
it
that's
feels,
the word
it
right
feels
there. It feels
forced,
forced,
and his attitude throughout most of this arc, specifically of these 5 issues, seems so out of character for where the 11th Doctor would be in his timeline at this point.
yeah, agreed.
I could totally see Cloud 11th Doctor doing that, or even later on when he's frustrated with Clara and whatnot. I could totally see that aspect of him, but it just doesn't quite fit his character.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Had it been the 12th Doctor bleeding backwards, it would have made a bit more sense.
Well, there's still time.
Yeah, it's possible.
There's still time to kind of...
And they did try to justify it with him trying to push her to go do what she needs to do. It just felt like maybe they should have given us that little tidbit early enough that it didn't feel like it was out of character for him to us, as opposed to out of character to him for Alice.
How difficult at this point would it have been just for the Doctor to say, Alice, here's the deal?
Yeah, why make her go of her own volition? She would willingly go and do all of this.
I don't want to send you. It's not fair
but
to
it's
you.
Time, it's destiny.
But you have to be the one to go there. Dak, go with her and keep her safe.
That would be more in line with the 11th Doctor.
Even the
I can see Seven doing this because Seven's manipulative.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a manipulative 11th Doctor, which isn't what we're used to. It's a different aspect of the Doctor. I'll give them that. They're exploring a new character angle to the 11th Doctor that we haven't got before. It just doesn't feel like the 11th Doctor would do something like that.
And I think it's probably the biggest problem with it. So, again, there's still time. They can very easily come back and explain why there's that. But I feel like in the end, it feels almost like Much Ado About Nothing, that you didn't have to go through all the subterfuge. You could have just told her what's up. And
of course, it would have cut several issues out.
Yeah.
And that's part of the padding.
Strong enough companion, she probably would have done it.
And I think that's part of the padding issue with these 5 issues.
So, but I guess we'll find out.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
In a way, it's almost tougher now to not continue to go forward and read.
Oh,
and
yeah.
let them pile
Yeah.
up than it was. I mean, because, again, that emotional high after issue 5 was like, I gotta know what happens next. But I didn't. I waited. Now it's like, man, I really need to know if you fix it or not.
I think because the cliffhanger was better last time. This one just feels like they kind of just stopped the story, and I felt like I didn't really get a sufficient cliffhanger. I feel like I need to go on, but we'll see. Hopefully they wow us in the end somehow. So,
Time will tell.
all right. Well, Sean, what do we got come up on the schedule?
Well, next week on the schedule,
We're running up against the end of the schedule. I noticed.
we are running up to the end of the schedule. I should probably plan some stuff out.
Didn't occur to me until I went to look to see because went to get the actual issues earlier in the week to see what I had needed, which Big Finish, and I went, well, there's only one more week after this on the website. Two?
Yeah. I'll cover them both now.
Okay.
This week for Friday Night Who, we're going to explore some Matt Smith.
Some
I'm
sorry.
aspects of his character.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Okay, I forgot. I'm still a whole week ahead. I want the Macroterra. Sorry, go ahead. I'm champing at the bit for the Macroterra.
Well, we're
Clamping at the bit?
We're going to do some Matt Smith love this week
Clawing at the.
because we're going to watch Nightmare in Silver. So Matt Smith versus Cyber Matt Smith.
Yay!
Which will be a great intro to our discussion on Matt Smith, the actor, as we go beyond the Doctor. And we're going to watch Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So we'll discuss the film and see what we thought of that and his performance in it. The following week, David Tennant in Gridlock for Friday Night Who, which sets us up nicely for a combo of Adversary Archive about the Macra, because obviously we've already seen and reviewed Gridlock, but we can talk a little bit about the Macra because we're going to do the Lost in Time story, The Macra Terror. None of it exists, second Doctor story, so we're going to be doing the Target novelization and the audio recon from the folks at Loose Cannons, and that's how we'll be reviewing that. So
Keep calling it an audio recon. It is a video recon.
Oh, is it a video recon?
Telesnaps.
Yeah.
That's what
Sorry.
makes it, that's what
Done
makes
in
it a
video
recon.
form. No, it has audio and video.
Have they combined the telesnaps together into a flip book that makes moving pictures?
No.
Then it's an audio.
Yeah. Because what? Well, the only reason I correct you because you're.
No, you're right.
Sort of right. Is
for the same reason it's always a Target novelization.
There is an audio form of this out there, which is the BBC radio version, which is the one with linking narration.
Okay.
And so I don't want people out there to think that we're reviewing that CD that was released several years ago, which utilizes the same audio that at least the audio track from the serial together, but what they've done then, which is another way to experience it if you guys care to. There is a version out there where I think it's Fraser Hines does the linking narration so that you can listen to the story with the actors as it was on television, but you'll also get filled in the visualizations in your head by Fraser Hines in the middle, so in between. So that's why I call you out.
I could listen to Fraser Hines tell me
yeah,
a story.
absolutely.
I'd be all right with that. Okay, well, and
so this is the video reconstruction.
as we attempt to try and get Keith to see everything in the pure form as it was broadcast,
Purest form we can.
don't have the option to do that.
Purest form available.
Purest form
that way,
available.
yeah.
It will be the telesnaps with the audio.
Yeah.
So, from the folks at Loose Cannons who put that together. And then the Target novelization of the Macroterra.
Yeah, we squared that one away last week.
So, kind of doing the Lost in Time with the Adversary stuff, which will be cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing. I knew the Macroterra. I've never seen it, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But I knew it was a thing. I've never watched it. So I'm really curious to know now, because I watched the David Tennant episode when it aired and went, I know this is a previous villain from a previous thing, but I wasn't familiar enough with the Macra to know that I think this is an old villain that they brought back. So now I'm really excited to be able to go and put those two together and see how they do it.
Yeah, this will be brand new for me because I haven't even watched the reconstruction of this one. Most that I knew about it was Doctor Who magazine several years ago had an article that basically laid out the story, kind of talked about some of the behind the scenes stuff. So I know what happens in the Macroterra, but I've never experienced it as a story. So exciting stuff. That's why I'm so excited to finally get to it.
Something new
it's
for
some
Glenn.
Doctor Who I have not seen. So, and there's very little of that anymore because I'd kind of gone ahead with a lot of the recons against you guys, without you guys. So
Against us, we know
especially since I was reading Neil and Sue's books, so wanted to make sure I knew what the heck they were talking about. All right, well, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
that. Did you want to ask anybody for money?
Yeah, let's do that. All right.
You don't have to.
Give us money.
I'm Sean.
No. That's a beep. Beep. Clapboard there. Well, if you'd like to support us and support this podcast, you can become a Patreon supporter. To do that, just go to travelingthevortex.com, and on the right-hand side of the page, there is a button for Patreon, and click on that, and you can become a Patreon supporter. And we know a lot of you already are Patreon supporters, and we appreciate that.
And thank you very much.
Every little bit
Yes,
helps,
thank
and we do thank you for supporting. There are also some links on the right-hand side of the page that will take you through to some of our sponsors, and some of those proceeds also go back into this podcast as well. All right, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
I still hear bells. Be seeing you.
Don't let him go through that door.
Did you get his shoes?
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.